Take me in your motorboat. Let me love you while we float. Do not shove me in your wardrobe like your duffel coat.
A man, a cheap Japanese keyboard, a tiny home studio, and a huge and bizarre talent. He's Andrew Tait. He's a Tyneside, and he's accomplished on the French horn and his own invention, the musical enema pipe. You blow down it. His lifelong ambition is to be a British Rail's station announcer, and he writes songs. Extraordinary, strange songs that sound like nobody else in the entire world, and which he records at home, speeding up his voice so that he can hit the high notes like his idol Sting. To put it mildly, they are very odd. But behind all the weirdness, there's a lot of wonderfulness going on. Listen for the lines about the duffel coat. They're fantastic.
Oh, me lads, the time is nearly 6 a.m. I've lain awake all night. The moon has done her duty and the sun is shining bright. I'm gonna put my undies on and take a little walk. I hope I don't get swooped down on by some strange breed of hawk. I'll hop into the town and have the city streets all to myself, and wander to the riverside and breathe the sky beneath the bridges down beside the river Tyne. I'm feeling kind of groovy. Austin came here to star in Stormy Monday, that's a movie. He's very rich and famous, but I bear him little.
If you were in Newcastle around the 1980s, you would have been aware of somebody called Andrew Tait. He was a poet, an eccentric, and an outsider musician long before the term was coined. Me and my sister would pass around bootleg C90 tapes of his poetry and music. He also had a guide on how to make prank phone calls, which we followed to the letter.
Part 1. Ring up a slightly eccentric person and don't say anything but tape record their answer. Mrs. X is a slightly eccentric person who can be contacted in this fashion with a result like this.
Hello? 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 Can't hear you. Nothing's happening. Hello? I should get the operator. I can't hear anything at all. Whoever it is.
Another way to get the best from your telephone is to obtain a crossed line and then interfere with the conversation that you stumble upon by playing the French horn down the phone. Here are several examples of this, selected from extensive archives.
Hello? Hello? It's a pity some people have better things to do with their lives. It would be amusing if it wasn't pathetic. Wouldn't it? I say it would be amusing if it wasn't pathetic.
Andrew was also a prolific letter writer, earning him the title of Britain's most rejected poet, with over 1,000 rejections. Andrew was a favourite on the Viz letters page and constantly bribed the editors so he could stay in the Viz top 10. He often appeared in local newspapers with his various different publicity stunts. He once climbed to the top of the Tyne Bridge and had to be rescued by the police. Then there was that time he sent a parcel to Peter Beardsley, the football player, and they thought it was a bomb. Aye, how we laughed. He also sent a toaster to Bob Dylan, which brought him notoriety and appeared on a number of local radio stations.
These trendy people who live in Jesmond now, you make all this weirdo kind of music. Does it sell? I mean, or are you really poor?
I'm very poor. I'm a private music teacher, actually.
Are you? So that's how you earn your pennies?
Yes.
Now, you make these wacko kind of answer phones as well. Do you sell those or what?
Well, I have done one or two. The main thing, recently I've written, believe it or not, a serious album of music.
You haven't done a serious one, haven't I? Go on, what's it called then?
Love is a Continuous Struggle.
Right, and are you joking you can do serious stuff? Because, I mean, I've heard your stuff and, I mean, you can't even sing.
I left Newcastle in '91 and headed down to London and around the UK on various travels. I often heard about Andrew in dispatches and read about him in the Viz magazine. But when I returned to Newcastle, some 20 years later, it seemed that Andrew had just disappeared off the radar. For someone who once craved publicity to suddenly shy away from it seems a bit strange. And of course, with him being quite prolific in a pre-internet age, it was quite difficult to trace him. He didn't have an email address, he didn't have a website. Most of the articles about him were in physical archives and there was nothing on the internet. I was intrigued at why he'd disappeared and decided to find him. Andrew was proving difficult to track down, but while listening to one of his old Z90 tapes, he'd left a clue.
Any record company who wants to put him on disc before his brain explodes, get in touch with...
Music by arrangement, Flat 4, 30 Clayton Road, Jesmond, Newcastle upon Tyne, NE2 4RQ.
Me, he's great. More from him in future shows.
The address was 30 years old. Anyway, I took a chance.
I shake my head. Apples and oranges, gooseberries, coconuts. I do not want to go to bed. Blackberries, raspberries, melons and hazelnuts. But I love you. Tell me you love me too. Roses are red or pink or white. Carrots and cabbage, potatoes and turnips. And I could stay up with you all night. Soya beans, aubergines, marrows and pumpkins and
Well, it turns out Andrew still lives at this address, and he phoned me up on the day he was moving house. I found out from my internet research that Andrew suffers from agoraphobia and never leaves the house. He also doesn't do interviews face to face. He told me he was planning on making a comeback, but having known people with agoraphobia, it can be a long and painful journey. Hopefully Andrew will get to where he needs to be. I think for the time being we'll have to file Andrew away in that long list of performers who went missing in action.
Andrew Tait, a prime example of the great British eccentric at work.
Sitting on the carpet, playing with my toys. As I older grew, moved to pastures new, and out the window my joy flew. Since my childhood days, my mind's been in a daze, but that has only been a temporary phase. Walking through the rain, I'm letting go of pain and feeling happy once again. I haven't been feeling myself for some time. I haven't been feeling myself since 1969. Sitting in the park or listening to bark, I notice in my life a brilliant golden spark. Things seem clearer now, the sky is cleared somehow, the sweat has vanished from my brow. I haven't been feeling myself for some time. I haven't been feeling myself. He hasn't been feeling himself for some time. He hasn't been feeling himself since 1969.